Okay, my people. There's one interview I would like you to watch. It's the interview of the distinguished senator representing Abia South Senatorial District. The senator that recently defeated the former governor of Abia State, Governor Kezi Bazo, in the last senatorial election in that same senatorial district. This election was conducted at Family Law FM in honor of a program they call Heroes of Our Democracy. That interview is in depth. He will tell you why the issues he had in government as deputy governor of Abia State when Senator Otti was governor. He will tell you the challenges. He will tell you. He also advised Alex Otti. He said a lot of things in that interview. It's an interview that you must not miss as an Abian. Watch this interview. It's rolling in immediately. But one thing you must do for me is that go to our YouTube handle, subscribe to our YouTube, so that you can be able to be getting daily content and videos like this that will actually be enlightening and reveal our eyes to things that we know or things that we don't know that we need to know. God bless you. My name is Emenike Rebu. God bless you.
Have you, sir? You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely glad to have you, and thanks so much for obliging us on this event, because as far as we are concerned as a station, it's one event we hope to have people like you speak to the people of Nigeria, to the people of Abia State, on the need why we should have this our democracy sustained. And for a man like you, I'm sure if he speaks, you know, of course, you know what it is when you speak. So, first of all, congratulations on your recent victory in the last elections.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. It wasn't easy. I'm sure a lot of people never felt that it would happen. But it happened. Yeah. It happened because we told people, be with the people, and they will support you when the time comes. And that's exactly what happened. I have always been with my people, not just in Abia South, but in all of the Southeast, in all of Nigeria. And when it came time for them to pay back by giving me their votes, it happened. And I thank them. And I'm very grateful to our people. Also, if you look in the profile that was read, we dwelt somewhere in there on the new Electoral Act, an electronic transmission of votes. You could see what happened with electronic transmission. It helped for us to get through. Me and so many of my colleagues who passed through also helped Mr. Otti to get through, because electronic transmission was what now made sure that that magic figure that always comes that didn't come up again. And so Abia is the better for it. Thank you.
Well, we're really not going to start deeply on the issues of elections, but since you've gone there, you did mention the issue of electronic transmission of results. Would like to have you talk more on that, because it is about the 1993 general elections and the fact that a lot of onlookers and analysts believe that the person who emerged from the process was the late Chief Mko Abiola. Unfortunately, that process was annulled, and the reason why the immediate past president, Muhammadu Buhari, thought it wise that June 12th be celebrated Nigeria's Democracy Day is what this program is about. So we'll have you talk more on that. But you came up against the then governor of Abia State, Dr. Okeze Victor Pazu. That was quite a contest.
Well, I don't think there was any contest, really. Because the point really is that at any time that you're doing an election, what you're running on is you're running on your records. And your records will be what will make the people decide whether they will go with you or not go with you. And I don't think he had that kind of record that would have, beaten my own record. And when I mean record is not, don't forget that he was an executive governor, executive in the executive side, and I was a legislator. So my job is to make laws, my job is to defend our people on the floor of the Senate. My job is to make representation for our people. His own job is to make sure that there is food on the table. As an executive, his own job is to make sure that no child goes hungry because his parents are not paid. And so it was very, very clear. Your record versus my record. And the results are what we see.
Yeah, I know my colleague will be coming through shortly,
Exactly.
but on the issue of electronic transmission of results,
Yes.
there was quite some controversy.
There
Yes,
was-
you have said successes recorded by INEC, but there was a huge controversy that greeted the what was seen to be a non-transmission of the presidential elections as against the other categories.
Yeah, so the fault was not in the electronic transmission. The fault was in the non-transmission of electronic results. All that happened on that day was that rather than upload all the results real time, as we were told, the code that was supposed to be given to every INEC staff to upload the presidential results failed, which means that somebody, somewhere, deliberately either gave the wrong code or switched off the presidential, because the House of Rep results and the senatorial results were all uploaded successfully. So we got our own results. We could go to iRev and we could see our own, but you couldn't see the presidential own. So the fault wasn't in the transmission. The fault was now man-made. And that is where we come in. As we're going to continue to look into these matters and modify these matters, as much as possible, you should try to remove the human element from it, since we can no longer trust ourselves. We trusted INEC to do what they said, and we have failed that day. So the fault, like was said in Shakespeare, not in our stars, but in us, you know, and that is it.
Okay, so quickly, still on the election, since we're talking about the new electoral act, do you think there are needs for some sort of improvement? Because just like you said, some persons were successful, some persons rejoiced, while some other persons were not satisfied with the outcome of the election. So, as a legislator, come sometime this month, you will assume your 5th term as the senator representing Abia South Senatorial Zone. Do you think there's any need for the legislative arm of government to perhaps look into whatever may have caused that hitch in that election?
Yes, I think that ultimately we just have to look into those areas. Let me put it this way. At every point that we amend our laws, we always amend it to be able to take care of human failings and human frailties. And of course, that is the real problem in our polity. That is the whole of us, both here, elsewhere. Because our people are always very, very ready to compromise even those things you're not supposed to. When you have a position of trust, you're supposed to keep that trust for the public. Unfortunately, that does not happen. And so that leads us at every point to tinker with the law. And so what we're going to do next is to say, what will be the penalty for the person who did this? Who takes the responsibility for doing this? Is it the chairman of INEC? Is it all the INEC members? Is it the person who is in charge of ICT in INEC or whatever? So those are the issues that we must have to look into, because clearly something went awry that day and somebody must be held responsible for it. I think, this speaking on a general note, part of the biggest issue that we have that has kept our country like this is that nobody pays any price for bad behavior. People will do things and get away with it, and therefore impunity continues to thrive.
Well, of course, Democracy Day was birthed by, like I mentioned earlier, the 1993 general elections. From your citation, anyone who listened as well to reading out of your citation, you were very instrumental towards the infusion of the electronic transmission of results. And following from what history has made us understand, and for those who were around at the time, the 1993 election was adjudged the freest and fairest. Putting that side by side, putting that election, sorry about that, side by side, the 2023 general elections, 30 years is going to be exactly come Monday, June 12th.
Yeah.
Have we made progress? Have we fared better, you think?
You know, when I remember that day, it strikes a chord within me. My first daughter, I think she was about 12, then I took her to, no, I think she was about 8 or so. So when I went to vote that day, I used to live in Lagos, in an area in Lagos called Alimosho. And I said to her, let's go, I want to vote. I would like you to know what it is to vote, because they were all brought up under the military. So they don't know any such thing. And so she came with me and we stood on the line and we did everything. And I voted and she said, Daddy, what exactly did you do? I said, okay, this is how you do it. And then they paint your finger. Let me say that what you are comparing now, that time and now, actually is comparing apples and oranges. Okay. They are not the same. At that time, that voting, there was nothing electronic there. It was purely a manual system, what we called option A4, where you stand and people can count. But this is a system now where you have had, between that time and now, an explosion in, I will say, technology. And we're using technology today. That is why you could use a BVAS to capture your face and upload results. That time it wasn't. You had to take the paper physically. So when you want to compare both, I don't think that is, it's just like comparing, at that time there was no cell phone. So you didn't even know what was going on the next street. So I think that we could call it a free and fair elections. Knowledge also at that time was very limited. Now knowledge has spread. People get all manners of information from everywhere and people act depending on the information that they have. So I will rather say that today should be an improvement in yesterday. 30 years down the road, I could talk with my wristwatch. 30 years ago, even to talk with a cell phone was
almost impossible.
No, not that it was impossible. It was unimaginable. And anybody who could do it at that time, somebody around there would think that he's doing some kind of witchcraft or something. But you could see, right now, it's commonplace to everybody. So we can only try as much as we can to get better doing things. But I still come back to my original point. We can do things better if people know that there is a penalty for doing wrong. What is going on is simple. Today, somebody deliberately switched off that transmission by the for the presidential results, and that gave room for other people to go and just write what they feel like and say they were doing it. And uploading of results was held 2 weeks after the election, 3 weeks after the election. That doesn't make any sense. And no one has been brought out, no one has been charged, nobody even knows who to blame. Even INEC itself, that is supposed to conduct the election, is also on its own.
That said it was a glitch.
Just saying that was a glitch. So what does that mean? What does a glitch mean? The answer should be very, very clear to each and every one of us. For us to make progress, we must put forward reward and sanctions.
Awesome. Okay, sir, of course, you've really spoken well. It's been really 4 years of uninterrupted democracy as far as Nigeria is concerned. Yes, very many persons, I just want to say that our democracy is still nascent, while some other persons also want to say it has grown to the stage that Nigerians should begin to experience some level of stability. It cannot be nascent forever. Now, if you ask the average Nigerian on the streets, they will quickly throw the blames at the political class. Like, they would quickly say the political class has run this country down the drain. We're talking about democracy, government for the people, of the people, and by the people. And up till now, people are yet to experience, in full terms, the dividends of democracy. Why are we where we are in the stream of time as we speak? So
we're where we are because the political system has been able to throw up a set of people that do not represent the people. See, democracy is for the people, by the people. But we had a system. I was in this state from 1999 when we started. And I can tell you, I've seen everything. I've seen also the rest of Nigeria. And we had a progression for the worse. Let me tell you what I mean. The first set of House of Assembly members here were almost between the PDP at that time and the APP also, which means that there were people who, but progressively, we now found that no other party could even win. That's what happened. Secondly, the first set of people were people on their own who contested elections, but from the 2003, 2007 going downwards, people were handpicked. So they didn't represent the people. They were represent those who handpicked them. And of course, that extended throughout the rest of the polity all over the country. So a president is leaving, he wants to bring his successor. There's no free interaction for people to exercise that. Then, of course, it was even worse in the states where people were just handpicking, and then that is exactly how we ended up now having a group of politicians, group of public officials who do not represent the people but represent various interests, and of course the primary interest is the political authority that brought them into office. So that negates the concept of democracy, because if you didn't bring me into office, I have no responsibility towards you. And so that is why I think Alex Otti at one time was talking about people in Abia who were blood tonic people, that they couldn't criticize the government because they were on blood tonic. Of course, what it means actually is that in every system there are leaders, and if those leaders don't speak up for the people that they are supposedly in charge of or supposedly representing, then things will just go downhill. So trying to find where this whole thing went bad is so simple. You can just put it in the fact that the democratic ideals of the people making their choice was subverted in some way. That is how we got to where we are today.
Well, in case you just tuned in, it's a special session with Senator representing the good people of Abia Central, I beg your pardon, Abia South Senator.
Mr. C, let me interrupt you to say that I don't just represent the good people, I represent everybody in Abia South. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Very well said. Very well said. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Everyone.
Fantastic.
Everyone.
So we have Senator Abaribe live in the studios of Family Love 99.9 FM. Don't forget, the program is Heroes of a Democracy, and he's been here as a function of your nomination and the scrutiny by the panel. My name is Mr. C. Vivian.
Vivian Chima is here.
Let's go ahead, distinguished senator. I mean, one glossing through or probably checking deep into your history to the much we can might rightly want to describe you as a non-conformist, because you have the tendency of quitting when it doesn't favor a certain principle, particularly when the principle is having an inclination with the people. Dating back from when you were the deputy governor of Abia State from 1999 to 2003, because history has it that you're one of the deputy governors of the Fourth Republic that survived about 3 impeachment attempts on you until you eventually resigned your position. And over the years, I mean, several stories, several incidences can back that up. What motivates you in situations like that?
I think it has everything to do with 2 things. Family upbringing. I think I will make an attempt to let you have a copy of my book. In one of the chapters of the book is titled "Remember the Son of Who You Are." I had a parents who imbued in me from childhood to say, this is who you are. Don't compromise it for anything. And therefore, we always had that inside me. Part of the problem of politics today is that it seems as if there are no principles. It seems that people are made to abase themselves, do anything just so that it will look as if you need to always feed. And because you can feed, you can say anything, you can do anything. A fellow man will say, lie down, you lie down. They say, they march on you and you agree, just so that you can have a position. Once from childhood, you're brought up to know that you need to stand for yourself. You need to do what is right. Then you will find that these things don't mean anything. Listen, on the 29th, when we came here for the inauguration, I was sitting at the podium in Umuahia Stadium, and there was a flashback. I remembered exactly what happened to me as a deputy governor. It was, I just stood there. I went to shake the deputy governor now, and I looked at him and I just laughed. You know why? Oh. On the day I was sworn in, I took the oath first. Then Governor Kalu took the oath. After everything was done and we were now to leave to go to the Opera Auditorium for lunch, I couldn't find my vehicle. Why? The vehicle was given to me by the departing
administration.
No, departing administration, the Colonel Obi, a convoy. You know, well, it was actually not a very good convoy, but you know, an outright this thing. Pujo carrying people, our own vehicle, which is a Pujo car too, and then the one behind, and we stood there, me and my wife, and we're looking. Where is the convoy? None. What happened? And then eventually we managed to scramble into a relative's vehicle to take me to me and my wife. And then I was asking, you know what happened? We found out from the field there, somebody had given instruction to the convoy to move, and that they are no longer my convoy, that it was the convoy, it was now designated as the convoy of the wife of the governor on that day. I mean,
interesting.
People couldn't believe it. Of course, when I confronted the governor the next Monday and said, what happened? Why would you say that this is? He says, oh, I didn't know. They just told me it's my wife's convoy. I said, okay, let them move it. I mean, this is the kind of thing that people see in politics. Now, there are two ways to react. You understand? You lie back and take it, or you strongly protest, and then you are tagged a troublemaker. So I strongly protested, and I became a troublemaker. So this is what happened from day one. So now, you see what happens in politics is this. Somebody, just like Fela said, somebody will come and slap you on the street, and you will say, slap me again, make I take money. You understand? That is just the concept. People lose their sense of self-worth, sense of dignity. That is just it. I have my sense of self and my sense of dignity. I can stay anywhere. I can sit today. I can spend the next 1 week without having 1 naira, but you will never know. Then I will not go groveling to you, knowing that you are the cause of that, so that I will be seen as a good boy. No, if you're doing bad, I will come and tell you that what you're doing is wrong. So when you say that I leave when things go bad, it is when I confront situations and it doesn't seem that the person is willing to change it. So I say, fine, I'll quit, because you can't stop me from quitting.
Was that where, I mean, the situation you mentioned before Vivian comes in, that situation, was it what triggered the
No. For me to leave to APCA, it was exactly what happened. We were here and we saw what happened. And, you know, the party, PDP, just decided to take decisions that were inimical to the interest of the party. And we went and met the chairman of the party. The whole of us who were governorship aspirants, except the one that was designated by the governor. And when we got there and we spoke to the party chairman and the rest of the party secretary, the party organizing secretary, they just turned a deaf ear. And to my face, the party chairman said, does not matter if you guys quit. After all, it's just a state. And so we said, okay, fine. Everybody go take your decision. And I decided that, okay, fine. Since you think that we win election in Abia because of the name PDP, let us go somewhere else and teach you that it is us that actually make the name relevant, not the name making us relevant. And of course, you can see the outcome. The outcome today is that I don't know where PDP is anymore. You know, so at that point, we can come back to the original question. The original question is, what do you do as a human being? First thing, always have your dignity. You have been born, you grew up, you went to school, you have your rights. So you stand firm and say, this is not good. It doesn't matter what the person is, but what we have today is a crowd of sycophantic people, and somebody will do wrong and then somebody will praise the person for doing the wrong thing. And of course, if once it's done, the person who is doing the wrong thing is emboldened to even do worse. And I think that gradually what we're seeing today is that the era of that impunity has also come to an end. So we're going to be watching the the governor, watching him and seeing whether he's going to throw the path of the old or he's going to carve his own path. Yes.
Okay, still talking on the purpose of this program, talking about our heroes of democracy. For you to be robustly nominated, sir, means that there's something in you the people have seen. Now, as a legislature, very soon you'll be going into your fifth term as a senator for your senatorial zone. We have three arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. I would also want to add another arm of government, the people. I would want you, sir, to tell us the roles you think these arms of government can play in strengthening our democracy. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what do you think you have done to impact on the lives of the people? We know we've read your citation, we've heard, but we would need for you to summarily tell our dear listener this. I have two bullet questions for you. Go ahead, sir, and respond.
Well, a lot of bullet questions. First of all, you're talking about the roles of the different
arms of government,
and of course, the fourth arm, which
the
you
people.
have brought in now, which you call the people. Of course, as a journalist, actually, the journalists say that they are the fourth arm. Actually, the fourth estate is always the journalist. The point is that, listen, we can take those people. The people represented by the fourth estate, which is journalists like you. Your job is the most critical job because you are the mirror with which everybody sees what people do in the different arms of government. Essentially, what does a legislature do? You make laws for the good governance. It's there, right there in the Constitution, good governance. You don't make law for bad governance. So when you have bad governance, it means that somebody is actually breaking the law made for the good governance of the people. Of course, ancillary to good governance, making laws is now representation, doing all those things. Those ones, the essential thing is that when you look at the fact of, let's say, you take a child, there is a law that says that every child must be protected by the state, which means that the child also, and there are laws that are already made that say that people have rights. You have a right to life. So people don't just wake up and kill you. That's why you make the law. You have a right to education. You have a right to freedom of expression, which is what we're doing here. You have there are so many rights. It's actually section 30 to 39 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So all those rights are there. Those ones are meant for the legislature to make sure that at every point they sit, they talk about it. If there's any infraction, they need to correct it, they do. The executive is the most critical part of a democratic era. The essence of the executive is to say, if the legislature makes a budget and says, Umuahia needs a bridge across this place in order to ease transportation, you do it because it's already in the budget. If the person who's supposed to do it, the money is appropriated, is given to a contractor, he does not do it, then it is the job of the state also to prosecute that person. And then the judicial part job is to now interpret the laws and says, if someone has not done what he's supposed to do, what is the penalty? And the penalties are all listed. It's either in the criminal code or the penal code or the civil code. It's all there. Of course, there are aspects of interpretation. There are aspects where you have a flow where you can decide, okay, it's a 10 years sentence, but I can give him 2 years. I can give him option of fine. I can do so. That is how it is. The basic problem we are having today is the fact that with successive attack on all these different arms of government, people have tended to lose faith in government. If a worker diligently comes to work every month, there is no reason why at the end of the month, when he has done his own contract, that you won't do your own contract by paying him. You find a reason not to. So that is the reason why you now see people now start to cut corners, start to look for other things to do, start to find a way of survival. Let's just put it that way. And of course, it's always very easy to blame politicians, because politicians is set that is so easy, they are discernible. But then you ask yourself, a permanent secretary in the civil service, like they have in Abuja, that owns an estate of 35, 40 buildings, where did he get the money from? It means that he's doing something that is not ethical. Let's just put it that way. And so you have blame going all the way round. But I have come to the conclusion that the best thing for anybody to do wherever he finds himself is a maxim that was given to me when I was in secondary school at Ihe High School in 1967 when I came to secondary school. The principal at that time, principal of the school, was J.W. Nwogu, Emeka Nwogu, the minister, his father. And the man, in meeting us every morning at, when we line up before we go into our classes, always had something to say. And before we knew it, we had imbibed that thing he always said in our minds. And that is, leave every place better than you found it. If you imbibe that maxim, then the civil servant can come. And then he needs to do a 1 kilometer road, he has to, rather than do it, he will manipulate it so that the money will now be for a half kilometer road, the other half kilometer goes to his pocket. He's not leaving that place better than he found it. The politician like myself who comes, and your job is to see to the welfare of your person as a governor, as a member of house, as a member, senator, as all that. Rather than do the right thing for your people, you prefer to do what will benefit your own pocket. Of course, you're not leaving the place better than you found it. So what I try to do, I try to imbibe it into, I try to impute it into my children. I try at any time that I'm having interactions with young people or everyone, is to say, don't leave a place worse than you got in. Rather, leave a place better. That will always be a legacy that you will have. I'm in the Senate now. I'm called an indigent.
I was gonna come there.
I'm called an indigent.
That's the balance they use at the National Assembly.
Why? Why? Because you get better the more you are in there. You know far more of the legislative rules. The rules are right there in your head. You know what the right thing to do is. You know how to, get legislation done for the interest of your people. And so that is where we are. Finally, to get to where you are, that is one of the questions I really don't answer. You know why I don't answer it? Yeah. I always feel that it's a form of self-aggrandizement to come and tell you, I built a road, I built a highway, I gave 10 women this, and I paid school fees for this. I think that is not what you ought to do as a legislator. If there's any other thing you do as part of your legislative duty, then it is your constituents that are supposed to come and say, oh yes, he did this, he did A, he did B. Not for me. And that, of course, is part of the problems we have, because anytime we go for campaigns, people will come and say, what have you done? And if you tell him that I was instrumental to making those who won elections this time to win elections if it was the old order, they would never have won elections. Of course, it doesn't mean anything to the average man. Because for the average person, well, so how does that affect the price of bread? So you see the issue and the problem I have. I actually have a compendium which we give out, and it lists everything we have done. If you look inside there, you see somewhere that they say there's a made in Abbas senator. All the stuff that you do, transformers that we have given, A, B, and C. Those things are there. But I would rather be known as a fine legislator, not as somebody who would put one brick on top of the other. That is the job of the executive.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break here. The distinguished senator representing Abia South Senatorial District, Senator Abaribe, one of the heroes of our democracy, on the program Heroes of a Democracy, program organized by Family Love 99.9 FM. My name is Mr. C.
And I am Vivian Chima.
Let's take a short break. When we return, we'll just pull a couple of questions to our guests, and then definitely we'll call it a wrap. Stay with us.
How many minutes have we done?
I think this is about 50-something minutes.
Up to that?
Yes.
Really?
It's not supposed.
Time flies over.
I hope if I play this, the streaming does not get affected. Right?
Yeah, it's in another.
Vivian, you're finding it difficult to ask questions. Ask anything.
But a couple more questions. I'm sure it would be very charitable to have you and not have you talk about Abia State. You have the new man at the helm of the affairs in Dr. Alex Otti. Your expectations for his government. But you know, one cannot talk about Abia State without talking about the history you left as the deputy governor of the state. I did mention that history has it that you survived 3 impeachment attempts. That must have been horrendous. It must have been a pretty horrendous situation to be in. What were the fights really? I mean, maybe for the record, maybe we should be lucky, if I would say, to get to hear some of those things that might not have been said before, that might have led to these incessant fights that led to about 3 impeachment attempts. What exactly was it?
Let me put it very succinctly, and I think Abia people will also understand me when I say this. There's this one of our Igbo icons of music. His name is Flavor. He did a recent song, and then they say Imakonyewu, Imakonyewu. I think you know that song.
The lion is here, something like that.
Imakonyewu. No, I think Imakonyewu was before.
Exactly.
I think that one is a song called Doing, something like that. I'm very interested in music. Yes. So the real problem between us at that time is just that, Imakonyewu. So people will be telling the governor, don't you know you're a governor? You can do anything. And then look at this person. And so minute matters that never should mean anything. Now we are escalated by people who were around the governor. So the first advice I will give to Dr. Otti is beware of sycophants. You have ruined almost every governor in this state. From the time of Ojozo to, look, in Ojozo time, it got to the ridiculous extent that when we leave a function and we retire to government house with him, and you leave, when you have got to government house, I say, okay, Oga, you have gone to, let me go home. People will go back to you and say, look at this man. He doesn't have respect for you. He cannot even wait until you go up to sleep before he can go. It is how ridiculous it is. And I'm saying this, and when I'm saying it very, very succinctly. That is what kills government. We will be in a function, and he will make a grammatical error. And when I come to speak, and I don't make one, it's, you are going to show people that he went to school before him, or beyond him. Of course, he forgot he's a governor. You don't need to. If you're governor, what are you? You're governor. Nobody else is governor. So those little things is what continues to build. So they now create friends versus enemies. And so some people will come to see the governor and say, don't you see? He didn't even bend down to greet you. You know, that type of, And so, of course, some people will come and lie down on the ground. And they'll say, those are the people who are very, very loyal. So all of a sudden in Abia State, we now had something called loyalty. Loyal. So this one is loyal. This one is not loyal. And so people who had their own presence of mind, who had their own dignity, and who come and want to tell the governor, this is A or B or C. So don't mind him. You know, it's all these people who are not loyal to you. They are just coming to destroy your government. And then the governor, of course, if he's not very averse to the workings of these sycophants around him, we play according to that. In fact, I'm very good friends with Ojuzo now. Today, we are both in the Senate. And sometimes I have a conversation with him. And I said, what really happened? I said, listen, do you know that I will ask myself, what is all this? And some people will just go and say, what do you mean? You're governor. He get mayor. So that is exactly how we find ourselves. And it does not happen only in government house. Happens everywhere that you have an authority figure. Happens in the presidency, happens in the office of the speaker, happens in, so you now find yourself. In fact, in the Nigerian Senate, there was an evolution. Let me tell you what I mean by evolution. At the time that Chubo Kadibu and all that were presidents of the Senate, every senator,
told the governor, the executive governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Otti, to be wary of praise singers. Now, a few days ago, the presidential candidate of Labour Party in the just concluded presidential election, Peter Obi, was in Abia State, and he said something very significant. He told the governor to always ensure that the masses smile. That should be his priority, making the masses, the poor people, smile. As an Abian, you are an Abian, irrespective of the fact that you represent, you hold a very high position. You're still an Abian. You're an Abian first.
Yeah.
What do you expect from
due? He makes you smile by making sure that the hospitals are functional. He makes you smile by making sure that our children are well trained, that they can move into the digital age, that all the schools are well maintained, and so forth. So there's so much that you can list out for the governor to do. But two things I will only say. I've said the first one. The second one is this. Dr. Alex Otti is a rich man already, doesn't need Abia money. Part of the problem that we also had in Abia is greed. People want to steal the commonwealth of our people. And of course, they steal the commonwealth, they buy houses, they build houses, they do all those things. It's not necessary because of one simple thing. You sleep in one bed. You can only be in one vehicle. No matter what you do, if you go to ease yourself, you're going to one commode. So what it means is simple. All these importances that make people feel that they are big, this thing, 100 people following you around, they are totally unnecessary. Chris, I'm in your office, I'm a senator, I came with one car and one, but I didn't come with all manner, and ask anybody, they know me, I've always lived that way. Because I know that that is not what defines you. So, for Dr. Alex Otti, it will be what defines him, and what defines him cannot be the number of vehicles he rides. It cannot be the number of security people around him. It cannot be the number of how large everything is. No, it is how do you impact on the life of the people. And